Department. I appreciate you guys inviting me today. To me, when Amy reached out, and they reached out through the Chief of Police and the City Manager, when it got to my desk, I mean, this was a very, very important topic, as some people know. And it's also near and dear to my heart, because originally when little about me is I'm a 1986 graduate of Abilene High School, been in Abilene pretty much all of my life, with the exception of 5 years. I worked full-time for the National Guard for 25 years, retired in 2014. I'd worked part-time for the Enterprise Police Department for 15 years. So my wife said, I can't just sit at home, you need to get a real job, so I applied law enforcement. 2017, I did get selected to be a detective for a 3-year rotation, so you see where the math is. I'm still on that rotation. Actually, I'm the permanent detective now, so here we go. I wasn't going to reinvent the wheel when I came up with this. Mine's black and white because it's easier for me to read, but so I did borrow a lot of this. A lot of this is common. Actually, everything in here is common sense. A lot of the stuff, I discussed recently with businesses, it's all common sense stuff, but we forget that. We don't see the big picture, so to speak, that, because everybody wants to be friendly. You don't want to be that jerk when they come in. Oh man, that clerk's, eyeing me, or, they think I'm stealing stuff already. Well, guess what? They probably are. You've got your regular customers. That is a good thing, that hey, there's so-and-so, they're going to go to this area. But there's also the people I want to say their profession. They have no desire to get a job. That's what they do. And we hear the same names over and over and over. So that's why it was kind of important to me, and that's why I wanted to do a handout so you can take these back to your places of business, so you can show the employees, and I'm going to leave the rest of these with you.
Absolutely.
We also have it on, I also have it on PDF, so if anybody wants to email me, call me and give me their email address. I'd be more happy to email it. Like I say, these are very timely and important topics to me. One of the things you don't think about, and this was something I ran into over the weekend, I went shopping, and you need to worry about your stuff too, okay? Your employer stuff, like this, okay, that belongs to my employer, but my stuff's laying here, okay? So if somebody comes in the store, they're not necessarily after what your employer stuff is. They're not they're not after a box of pens. They're not after that, whatever. They're after, oh look, he left his iPhone over here, or she left, jewelry or something here. I was in a store, I walked up to the clerk to check out, I look at the register that nobody was at, and there's a cell phone laying there. So I was being nice, I was over in the line, and I said, hey, I'm just letting you know it wouldn't be a good idea. And they just, it's not mine, it belongs to my coworker. Still in the end, it's still theft. I understand it's not going off your boss's bottom line or your business's bottom line, but it's still theft, and it emblazons those people to keep doing what they're going to do. Another thing is, I don't know, as far as business owners are concerned, some businesses have lockers for their employees. Russell Stover's has got lockers out there, and their employees for some reason won't store their cell phones in it. We've had cell phone thefts out at Russell Stover's because employees don't want to put them in lockers because there's no signal. Well, while you're working, what's more important? And like I said, it's a common sense thing. I'm in a place with a whole bunch of people that I don't know. Some people I do know. Do I want to leave my $1,000 phone laying out? In the end, is it a victimless crime? Not really, but common sense strikes again. And also report. If you want to call, I'll leave my cards here today. If you guys want to call into the Abilene Police Department and say, hey, we got this guy or this gal that keeps coming in, they never buy anything, they walk around the store, I just get a weird feeling, that they're in here, don't hesitate to call me. Especially businesses that have video, or business can provide a picture. I have officers that love to just look and say, yep, that's one of our regulars. And then we can at least identify them. We're not going to go talk to them, they may be a legit customer. They may be not an impulse buyer. They may be, researching to buy later. So it's just, we have no problem with that. That's our job, is to kind of know who's who and what's going on. And I don't know, Abilene being a small town, and my grandmother years ago, used to tell me that, she lived in Enterprise. Oh, honey, nothing goes on here. Enterprise had a murder several years ago. I'm old enough to remember when they had a murder. We've had murders in Abilene, Kansas. We have the same crimes that bigger cities have, but it doesn't happen as much. And I'm going to knock on wood because I'm going to jinx it by saying that today. But you still need to approach everything as being the same. You have a routine. Well, there's a person watching your routine. Okay, I'm not gonna say maybe, I'm gonna tell you, yes, they are. You may not think it's important at the time, and they may decide, you know what, they're not doing it the same, I'm not gonna go do anything. But we've had, Abilene's had robberies before. The last one was at Casey's several years ago. So, I mean, that stuff happens. There are people that do watch your routine. If you see somebody sitting in a vehicle, this kind of goes back to what I was just talking about, and that vehicle's not normally there. Like with you guys up at Riddles, there's always people at the car wash, but you know what's unusual. Down there, old Abilene town, there's always cars down there, especially when Pokemon Go's going, and there's lots of cars going through doing Pokemon. But it never hurts, if the officers, call, say, hey, there's a suspicious vehicle, they'll come check it out. And they don't even have to tell that the business called. They can say, oh, yep, we saw you sitting in your vehicle, and we're just checking you out. Because it may be nothing, and it may be something, you never know. Let's see. One of the big things is, and I learned this from Quick Shop years ago, is no matter who comes in the door, always acknowledge them. Because that way at least they say, oh, they saw me come in, they're going to be watching me. Sometimes that doesn't always work, especially if you're busy. And like, with the case in point we're talking about, he knew what he was doing. And you had, this person had customers in the store too. So it did, it kind of, it was self-created for him to do exactly what he was going to do, and there was nothing going to stand in his way on that. I don't know how, I took the part out about changing your armored car service, because obviously Abilene's not big enough to do that. But we don't want to know how you do your bank drops. We just want you to do it safely. I know years ago, a business I worked for, they required an employee to follow another employee to the bank to make sure it got done. And our loss prevention people from Iowa, one day they called and they said, how come the guy in the red truck was doing this? So we knew our company was watching. So that may be something to do different. I don't know where you bank. One of the biggest upticks that's happened in the Salina area is ATM thefts, where there's a gang, they believe up out of Texas, down in Austin, Houston area. They come up, they steal 2 trucks in the area, they're whistboards, they chain an ATM, they give themselves so much time to do it, they yank it, and if they can't get it open in so long a time, they're gone. They don't wait around for the police, they don't wait around for nothing. They've been very successful. They'll break in, ATMs may have $80,000 in cash in them. And that's, I don't know what Abilene banks have in them, but I know that some of the Salina ATMs have at least 80,000. So, they're watching banks too. So I just don't want you guys to be the unlucky ones that you're up making a deposit and they say, hey, there's an easy picking. Okay, here's one that, case in point, surveillance systems. Okay, I know Riddles has a surveillance system. We did talk about additional cameras. That's not up to me. That's up to the business owners themselves. Camera systems have been a lifesaver on a lot of crimes in Abilene, Kansas. I've got several businesses in town that have given us access. We don't monitor it, so we can't sit there and go, oh, so-and-so just entered your store. But afterwards, we can go back and we can pull that video without having to come up to the store. We can look at different angles. We can do that kind of stuff. And there are mornings that my wife leaves early in the morning to go to work. I get my iPad out and I'll scroll through and I'll look and I'll say, and I haven't, knock on wood, I haven't seen anything yet, but there's always downtime where I am watching that kind of stuff.
Are you watching that around town?
Yes. Yes.
So I have a security system, but I wasn't aware. I guess I don't know how that works.
Can you watch it at home? Do you know, or on your cell phone?
Yeah.
See, and that's the kind of access that we have. Now, I'm not going to sell systems for anybody. There is one vendor here in town, Brad Hallman, sells a system that we have most of the access. I've got 2 other places, Old Abilene Town and the Super 8 don't use that type of system, and I have access to theirs. They've given me access.
Oh, so I could give
apps.
you access because we use CES.
Okay. And I don't know what his policies are, or what he uses. I do know, like I told Home Chevrolet when they gave us access, I'm not looking for parties. I'm not looking for, we're looking for after the fact. We're looking, because Home Chevrolet, they said they had no issue with me looking at their back lot because we had a burglary a couple years ago, where they busted out a window and stole a bunch of stuff, and it was right under one of their cameras. But at the time, we didn't have access. And after the fact, it was a little late then. So it's just one of those things. we don't actively monitor, so we're not, looking for something in the middle of the night and saying, oh, let's get the police down there. So that was that was something I had to kind of tell Holmes, that we weren't, going to send the car up there if we saw something, but the guys do patrol up there quite a bit.
Okay.
So, there's other things, and without remembering what Riddles has, do you guys have any signs up there that say like anything about shoplifters or anything like that? Those are a good deterrent too, like a free ride in a patrol car, that kind of stuff. I know they make them, you can find them on the internet, and that kind of stuff, and just to let people know you're not afraid to prosecute. And to kind of go along with that, with what we were talking about, the surveillance systems is, Riddles has their monitor behind the register, so customers coming in can kind of see, hey, they have video surveillance. And a lot of times, like Walmart's real good at that. You're standing there at the self-checkout and they have a camera right in your face and you're watching yourself. That makes you think, oh, I'm on camera. And in this day and age, there's a camera everywhere, so people are, more aware of that. They do not have one clerk on duty. That's not up to me. And I understand, small business, that's totally up to you guys. We kind of see what happens when you have one clerk and you get distracted, and that's going to happen, and that's what they kind of prey on. And I know I talked to the manager over at Quick Shop this morning, and she was there all by herself, and we talk about how that goes on up there.
That stresses me out for them at the convenience stores. When I was
Yeah.
a kid, I worked at an interstate convenience store. So yeah, it concerns me at night for them. I'm like, are you there all night by yourself? No, I'm not.
Yeah, and patrol at night, they're real good about driving through, and they'll make sure, they go there for coffee or they'll go to places, but, we can't be everywhere at once. And there's been nights I've been out, at Love's, and they have 2 or 3 employees running the whole thing. They've got showers, they've got, then you've got your night shift Burger King, or Hardee's. So, like I said, it's not up to me, but it's just kind of one of those, and that's another common sense thing. The more people you have, the more eyes you have. So, another thing is, like, arrange the aisles so people can't, get on the other side. Now, with that store up there, it's very hard with as much stuff as you guys have displayed, and it's just one of those things. It's just common sense. Hey, if I've got a hidden corner over here, that's where they're going to go. And that's exactly. I hate to use her as an example, but watching the video was textbook. This is how he was going to do it. He enters the store, he makes contact with her. She has customers in the store. He goes over, grabs a pair of boots exactly his size, goes over. Within 2 minutes of entering the store, he had these new boots on, and then he was walking around the store. So I mean, he didn't waste any time doing that. Now, like she said, he stayed in this store 20 minutes, which was a little unusual. I don't know if he was looking for other stuff or.
Well, I think he was waiting for the next customer to come in to
and
distract me.
it was a little delay, but I mean,
Yeah.
boom! Once that other customer got there, I mean, he was out the door. So I mean,
What happened? What did he do with his other shoes?
he left them there.
He left them.
Oh.
Yeah, I was on my way over there to see if they were sitting over there. He'd gone over to the jean. He was trying to get me to come over there, but then the other customer went, "Hey, where are these at?" And I'm like, and so as soon as I went back with them, he'd be lined up.
Yeah, and in watching the video, she's trying the whole time, and she's watching him. But it's just, it happened, so he had already done it by the time it was like, okay, now I have time to watch you. So that's why, it's more important. Expensive items back of the store, kind of where the clerks can see it. That's another common sense thing. But, I didn't realize boots were that expensive, and they're all over the store.
Yeah.
I'm not a boot buyer by any means, and I just was shocked. But then again, the smaller things with your cabinets around there, a lot of the smaller things are secured to where, but the bigger items they're still going to get. Burglar alarm, panic alarms. I know Riddles has got a system. Do you guys have a system down there? Okay.
Well, yeah, we have an alarm system,
Okay.
so I guess we would.
Okay. They also make, and I'm sure whatever alarm system you guys have has the availability for panic alarms. So if somebody does come in, push a button. We have a business in this strip here that had a problem customer. That was kind of a suggestion that we gave. Well, that kind of worked itself out with the problem customer. Hasn't been a problem anymore. after we kind of talk with them. But, you know, it is kind of, people think they know what's going on around them, and there's, you know, people are just going to show up, especially you guys with budget over here, because you never know who's going to be in budget. So
Sorry, but yeah.
that's just my that's my 50 cents.
It gets a little loud back there.
Yeah. One of the other things is, if you are being robbed, if somebody comes in and says, "Give me your money," give them the money. I mean, it's not worth your life. It's not worth getting beat up. You'll read on, you'll see on television, they'll make fantastic claims on the news that no matter what, oh, you know, the guy, we gave him the money and he's still pistol with me. Well, bigger cities, my suggestion is cooperate with them. I would much rather be able to talk to you than have to go over there and take pictures of your body, or, you know, meet you up at the hospital. Yeah, and if your store is robbed, one of the suggestions, at least for me, is don't touch anything. You know, don't go over and say, oh, well, you know, this is what they were doing here. You know, fingerprints solve crimes. DNA solves crimes. I've had both of them come back and help me in solving crimes. Those are just items on the big picture. Television really portrays it to where I can take that fingerprint and I can go, you know, oh, enhance, and I see a picture of their car. Well, it doesn't work that way, you know, but any little thing I can get, and it may not be right away. I've had fingerprints come back several years later, or DNA, depending on how busy the lab is. We get DNA back, and we've tracked people, you know, that of a crime that's happened 2 years ago. You know, that's my personal experience. We've had DNA evidence just recently come up on a sexual assault case that happened almost 20 years ago. So it just depends on how, you know, how that system works, and they prioritize what they analyze. So check on your fellow businesses. You know, Abilene is small enough, and I think a lot of people know everybody, to where you guys are kind of stuck. You guys don't have really anybody close. You guys have what, Liberty is the closest to you?
Yeah. Or that one.
Now you got the meat place coming in.
Yeah, which we've made contact with them. What is that CBD store? Is it still out there?
Yeah, it's still there.
Right
Yeah.
across the street.
Yeah.
You know, and just go in and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm with the business over here, you know, and just so you're a familiar face with them, so that at least they know. So if they see something cagey, or you see something cagey at their business, let them know, you know, because it's, you guys are on the south end of town, and you guys are on the north end of town, and it's, you know, hop, skip, and a jump south on 15, or it's hop, skip, and a jump to 70. So, I'm not going to go through on this page. I think it's the third page. There's a lot of the things about watch for someone who seems nervous, avoids eye contact. Once again, these are things that, you know, give you the heebie-jeebies. You know, that's something to take note of. Wanders around the store without buying anything. I mean, you know, and we can laugh and we can go back, but, you know, these are things that happen every day, but you just, it gets in your mind, you know, and it's just every once in a while, it's kind of nice to be able to go, oh, I just thought about that. And one of the things, like I talked about, this customer that was with one of the businesses up here, was if somebody comes in and they're insulting you, or you know, their racial slurs, or their, you know, whatever, call us. You know, that's our job. That's not your job. I mean, if you think you're the biggest jerk or the biggest B out there, well, guess what? You know, call the police department, because that way it doesn't come back on you. It comes back on us. You know, we're trained to handle that stuff, and like I said, we don't want to see you guys get hurt. There's no reason for that. If you have an irate customer, you know, don't hesitate to call the police. You're not wasting our time. I mean, that's what you pay us for, and sometimes it gives the guys something to do, and it's just one of those things. We've had all of those on that page: the insults, racial slurs, challenges, stares, bad language, repeated questions, sexual advances. We've had all of that happen in the city of Abilene. Yeah, trust your gut with people. They get angry quickly, ready to explode. We've had an uptick in that. A lot of that is from the military. You know, I was in 25 years, and I know a lot of people that have the PTSD issues and that kind of stuff. Not their fault, but it is, you know, one of those to where, you know, we can come in and we can diffuse a situation. There's a class that all of us have been through, critical incidents training, and it dives into that. dives into mental illness, dives into PTSD, and other types of mental breaks that people are having. I think just about all the officers have been trained in that. And there's a lot of diffusion techniques that we can use, and there's just stuff that we would rather them take it out on us than take it out on you guys. So we encourage you to call on that. If you are in a dangerous situation, have your routes pre-planned to where you can get out of there, because you guys are kind of stuck, as far as what door you're going to use. If you have to run around a rack, you guys have several doors to get out of up there, but have that plan in advance. Have an employee. I don't know. You guys have employee meetings every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
Okay.
Once in a blue moon.
Yeah, but walk through stuff like that. Hey, if I have a customer that's at this place and they get mad at me, how the heck am I getting out of here? Another thing that you can do, and we've told this to domestic violence victims. Call 911 on your cell phone, hit send, and throw your phone if they're trying to get it. Because phase 2 is our dispatch system, and they can pinpoint GPS signals. And if they have an open line on 911, they're going to dispatch people there. And that's happened. Once again, that's a true statement, and that has happened. And like, kind of case in point, try to prevent the person from getting between you and the door, and that could involve running around a rack, making a distance, pushing something into their way, and that kind of stuff. So I don't, like I said, everything in there is what I consider common sense. If you have any questions over any of that, I'll leave you my cards, and you guys are more than welcome to contact me. I'm in the office Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. We also have Officer Kabisky has been trained in where he goes out to like residences and also businesses, and he can do a free walkthrough, and he can give you suggestions on lighting and that kind of stuff. So that's another service that the Abilene Police Department has, and that would be up to his schedule of when he could do that, but he enjoys them. He gives you a survey. And he
Now, will you do that for businesses as well?
I will have to talk to him
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's working a different shift than
Okay.
but I know he will do that for residences.
Okay.
And I just not 100%
Yeah.
on businesses.
Yeah.
And that's something I can communicate back through you.
That'd be
and
great.
we can make
Yeah.
sure. And if not, we can get somebody trained up on that, because
Yeah.
to me that's important.
Right. To
me, that's
pinpoint
important.
certain, maybe what you're doing
Mhm.
wrong in your business, or where to place that camera, or that panic button, where that best place
Yep.
would be.
Yeah, because we've got them at the police department. They've got them
Yeah.
at the city building.
Right.
They've used it before. Somebody's irate about their water bill being too high.
Right. Right.
And they've used
Yeah.
it. So I mean,
Or
that's,
you can't give a refund.
Yeah.
People get mad when it comes to money. They
Yeah.
do. Or the restaurant, you got somebody that can't pay their bill, or it's $100 bill,
Yep.
and they can't pay it. They get a little crazy.
yeah.
You know,
And it's
that
not your
panic
job to handle it. I mean,
Right.
you want to be that perfect host, and you want to be that perfect,
To a degree.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there comes a time that we need to get involved, and
Yeah.
it can be settled down the road. We don't need to settle it right now,
Right.
so to speak. And I guess in my parting comments, if you do see somebody that's suspicious, we probably know who they are. Once we identified our suspect at Riddles, he's on a list, these are people, and he's been banned from several businesses here in town, just because of this. Him and his girlfriend both have been, put on this list. I went around, I talked with Lumber House, I've talked to several other businesses in town. I need to get up to the new Dollar Tree and let them know. These people have money, they don't want to spend it. They'd rather come in and steal.
They have money, but they still
Yeah,
steal.
they get disability, or they get money, but they don't want to spend it on that. They may go to the liquor store or
It's
wherever.
easier to
Yeah.
steal than
Yeah.
to spend.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's happening. It happens every day. Your business isn't immune. I don't know how many diner and dashes you guys have.
Well, not a ton, but
Okay.
we have had some.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I also don't want to hear. I hear this a lot. It says, "Oh, it's their first time. They're a kid." Well,
That's where it starts.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's 100% where
Yeah.
it starts. My granddaughters are 7 and 9, and we talk about that constantly. We don't go into stores. We don't, and as far as I know, they've never picked up a piece of gum and nothing like that. But I still put that in their head that we don't do that. Everything's cool. You can go look at stuff, but don't. Let's not go down that road, because it starts early.
Keep
And
your hands to
Yeah.
yourself is
Yeah.
what my
In
mother
your
used to say.
pockets.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Yeah, and I'm glad that you bring up, check on your neighbors and let them know who you are and maybe discuss with your neighbor, your hours, who's there. We do a lot of checking in our area with each other. How you doing today? Those kinds of things. And we try to stay aware of our surroundings.
Well,
Yeah.
I've been lucky in the 5 years that I've been there, there's only been one person that has
Yeah.
come in the evening that gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. Yeah, you've been lucky.
And luckily there was other customers in the store.
Mm-hmm.
So otherwise, if there hadn't been, I might have been making that phone call.
Yeah, yeah, and I would always say, and I'm sure you would agree, don't hesitate.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah.
was
Because
either,
you never know.
he was either drunk as a skunk or higher than a kite.
Something
I don't know
impaired.
which,
right.
for sure.
Those
but it was
impairments,
just like,
yeah. And that's when they seem to be super strong.
And that's develops its own problem.
Yeah. Yes.
So either way.
yeah, 'cause
Um,
he was like, as soon as he found out somebody else was in the store, he just kind of started working
Yeah.
towards the front door.
Yeah.
But nothing's, it's like a dumb question. There's no such thing as a dumb question. We get dispatched to anything. We get dispatched to bats in houses. We get dispatched to, like they had a gunshot as a matter of fact, when I was pulling in here, they had a report of a gunshot over at McKinley School. Well, I was able to tell them that I just got a notification from Evergy that my power was out. Well, I know that down by Zeiss, there's a transformer, and it's got these little links that when they pop, that sounds like a gunshot, because I was working one day when that happened.
Yeah.
So I was able to tell my officers, hey, this is what I think is going on. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in Abilene that we probably already know what it is, just because we've experienced it. And there's somebody out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Actually, there's 2. And I'm a phone call away. If they get dispatched to something, they call me, and I get phone calls, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if I'm not working. And that's my job too, is to come out and try and answer questions. So, does anybody have any questions?
We do have 2 questions from our viewers that were watching live. What the first one is, if you have a panic button, where would you suggest placing that in the store?
I would suggest where you spend a lot of your time, by the register. I know a lot of places, some places have them where they're portable. They can take them with them. It also depends on the business. Like, the banks have their own animal as far as their security systems are concerned. I just would say someplace where you can get to it in an emergency.
That works. Good enough. And then the second question we had on there is, how do you suggest handling a fake bill when the ink test says that it is bad?
I would ask them if they have another bill,
Okay.
and at the same time maybe have somebody give us a call, and the officers can come up. The officers have had some. I'm not saying we're Secret Service experts and we can say, oh, that's a real bill or that's a fake bill, but at least if the person is trying to pass what's not a legitimate bill, they may bolt from the store. And because we get those too. We've had a lot of those. Salina has a lot of those. Junction has a lot of those. Don't hesitate to call us. But I would ask them, do you have another bill? This one, as far as I know, my pen is saying that this isn't a good bill.
Good enough. That was all we had. Oh,
Okay.
make sure. Yep, that was everything on here.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot of. Let's get into that. So,
Well, you deal with money.
Yeah. You can get on Amazon when you leave here. Get on Amazon and look up movie money. Look up fake money. Amazon sells it. You can buy a pack of $20 bills, $100 bills, $50 bills.
Yeah.
A lot of it says for movie use only. A lot of it has Chinese symbols on it. People pass these. I set your bill on the table, okay, and I pull out my $50, and your server's going to go, wow, I got a heck of a tip.
Right.
They're not going to notice, because I've even had them so blatant to where they take a black marker and they cross out the Chinese symbols. So you have a black line on the bill. Now there's still a serial number, but you flip it over and there's more Chinese symbols. But it looks like a legit bill. It doesn't have the safety stripe. It doesn't have the watermark.
I was going to say, it looks more like
Yeah.
the older bills.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they've also one thing that they will do is they'll take $1 bills and they'll what they call bleach them
Yep.
to where they use that paper and they can make it into a $100 bill. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
or-
we've had those passed here in town.
Right. Or in your case, I've done it. I'm sure everybody here has done it. You get your bill and you leave your cash on the table and you leave because the waitress doesn't come right back.
Right.
Yep.
And you have somewhere to go. That's easy to leave a fake bill right there.
We had one
those-
fake bill when I first took over the restaurant in 2018, and it happened to be, it was a $100 bill, and nobody noticed. The bank called and said,
Yeah.
This isn't,
Yeah.
but the, Great Plains Theater was doing something, and we figured that's how it
Came
got
about.
passed.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's like I said with Amazon, you can get on Amazon, you can buy that money,
Yeah.
you know, and I was gonna do that originally, but we get so much of it in that I can show my officers, hey, this is what we got today. You know, normally they don't do lower denominations, I say
Well,
normally.
I had somebody, gave them a $10 bill and they took the pen, and I'm like, really, for a $10 bill?
But
You think
we've had
Yeah.
$10 bills.
But I'm like,
That's
really, you
In
think
different
most,
increments. Yeah.
especially if you're only giving one, though, I would think that you'd
Yeah.
be like, oh, okay, that's,
Well, a theft is a
Shouldn't be,
theft, and
but-
you know.
yeah.
Yeah, and we've had businesses here in town that, like, somebody will have an old $50 bill,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
which some of us know what they look like,
Yeah.
but some of the younger people, like, we
Oh,
don't know.
yeah.
And they've rejected them, you know, and then
Right.
it's gone over to Astra Bank and they've run it through their fancy machine that said, nah, it's a legit bill.
Yeah.
So it happens. But no, that's something else to watch out for is look for that Chinese writing. They don't feel right either. They feel like real papery. They don't feel like, you know, what the currency's printed on. Don't hesitate to call us on that. You know, we can always, if it's enough, we reach out to the Secret Service and we send that stuff into them.
Just get it wet, too.
Yeah.
If it's on regular paper, it ain't gonna last.
Yeah, and some of that ink will run.
Yeah.
It just depends. But once again, common sense. You know, it's something, if it doesn't look right, it's probably not right.
Is those markers, are those pretty good?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not gonna sell you anything. I don't know how they work. I know that they say they do. That would be something to get with your bank and ask your bank, because I've seen them up at the banks too. You know, the banks will have
Yeah,
them
they
up there.
do.
Yeah.
They mark them running.
But I just know Astra, you know, we had a questionable bill come into 24/7 one time, and I was working, and I told the woman, I said, I'm gonna run to Astra Bank, because that's my bank. I went in there, they ran it through the machine, they gave me a brand new $20 bill back, and they said, it's fine. And I went back up there and exchanged it, you know, because they were curious, but it was an old style 20, so a lot of the newer, you know, younger people don't know what that looked
Yeah,
like.
not my age. Yeah.
Yeah, younger, way younger. So,
Way
Yeah.
younger.
Now, one question I would have on this fake money, is it all, if you were to get it wet, is it paper, it's not made of the same
I'm gonna
material?
answer the same way I answered about the pens. I don't know.
Okay,
We have not, obviously when we get it in, we keep it as the condition we got it in. So I don't know, and without ordering some and figuring that out, I don't know what it's gonna do. I just know that it, you know, it's made differently, it's made cheaper than what real money is. So there's gonna be some difference, but the Chinese symbols have been the biggest thing.
okay,
Yeah, they'll put them on the back, they'll be on the back from the ones I've seen.
okay.
And like I said, the blatant ones were the ones where they just crossed it out on the front. And then we had some where they crossed them out on the front, and then they had written with a Sharpie, 1, 2, 3. We got a whole bunch of them, and they were all over, you know, there were several places in town that got them, and we knew it was the same person because they all had, it's like they were trying to keep track of
Uh-huh.
the ones
How
that
many
spent.
they had.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Yeah.
See how much the town was paying attention, I guess,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Something. Yeah.
so, all right, well, I'll leave my cards if anybody, I know you guys have one, so
Yeah,
I'd be more than happy to leave you one.
Yeah.
And I'll leave Amy a
Yeah, absolutely.
few of them with the rest of these.
And I appreciate you letting us know that there isn't anything that's too small, because I always feel guilty when there's a call and you guys are dispatched to our place and it was just a false alarm, or, you know, the cat set the alarm off, or,
That
you
happens,
know,
though.
whatever.
But you never know.
But you
Yeah.
never know,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
that's my whole thing is you
Yeah.
never know.
Right.
Yeah, because what's gonna stop me, if I know that they have an alarm up here, I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna pull on that door, set the alarm off, and I'm gonna go set over here, and I'm gonna see how long it takes the police to get here. Okay? What if Amy's alarm's not hooked into the police department, and it's hooked to Amy's house, and Amy goes, oh, it's that darn cat, or whatever set it off. Amy shows up, well, then dude's like, oh, look, she's by herself. So, I mean, I was on the street for 3, and I still work shifts sometimes. I love to get out of the car, and I love checking doors. To me, that's my bread and butter, you know, and I love checking doors. I walk around down there, I walk around Riddles, I walk around this. I'll hit all these businesses, you know. So far, I've found lots of open doors. I haven't found anybody in there, you know, but there's a first time for everything.
Sure.
So, but that's our job, that's what we get paid for. And if you have an officer that complains to you, oh, this was a waste of my time, call me. I'll be more than happy to talk to my chief about that. So,
That has never happened.
and
I
we've
just
never had
feel-
one say that.
Right, but again, like my mother, both the city and the county would come out there because it's right on the line, and I would be like, they're gonna stop coming out here because of all these stupid false alarms.
What's unique about FedEx, though, is because it is just barely in the county, is the fact that we still show up. Because the county will say, and we
The county may be way
the
out.
county and
in
the city
county.
cooperate. We have a wonderful
Yeah.
cooperation. You know, our administrations work well together. Our departments work well together. We have no issue sitting there, you know, waiting on the county to show up. Or even I know the guys have walked around the business before.
Yeah,
You know, and checked
Yeah.
the doors and said, "Oh, don't worry about coming. Everything's clear."
Yeah.
So that's just what we do. That's what we get paid for. And some of those guys, you know, it's like they're hoping, oh, maybe there is some dude in there.
Yeah.
today.
well, yeah.
Because you get to use your training.
Yeah, you
I
never
was
know.
born today.
You never know. That's what they got, those fancy cars with the lights and the cages in the back and everything else. So.
We did have one more question
Okay.
come in. If we set an alarm off by accident and they come to check, should the officer ask who we are?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I love getting questions like that. One of the important things, and I know, I'm not sure about your business, but I do know that Riddles, is to call 263-1212, which is our dispatch center. Make sure they've got your business name. Make sure they have accurate, current key holders. So if I come up here and I open this door and I go, oh, dispatch, get a hold of a key holder. Okay, we're going to call whoever, you know, whoever's on that list. There's been several times where we have old business owners. You know, for the longest time, they didn't have Lumber House updated when they were going through their construction, you know, just because they didn't think about it. And we've had some where we can't get a hold of anybody. So what do? You know, it's on. I don't want somebody to go in there, but in the same token, if I can't get a hold of anybody, what am I going to do? Right. So it's just to make sure, and that way they can say, you know, if they set off an alarm, I also recommend they immediately call the dispatch center and say, hey, this is so-and-so, it's such a business, I accidentally set off our alarm. And that way, you know, they can at least send an officer, because 9 times out of 10, if an alarm goes off, even if they say, hey, it was an accidental trip, the officers are still going to go, and they're still going to check, because you don't know if somebody's making them do that.
Yeah. And do you want a list of updated employees, names, or not? You don't want to go that far?
No, because that way they can at least contact the key holder, and they can say, hey, does so-and-so.
So work there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we get the employees switch so often.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
They
it's
do.
a
That's
lot
what
of
I
times,
do
because
know.
we've had employees, we've had employees that weren't supposed to be at the business, or were supposed to be at the business, didn't know the alarm code.
Yeah.
Well, they still call the key holder and say, hey, so-and-so's
Who's
here,
there?
trying to get in. So,
Got it. Yeah. Great.
awesome.
Good questions. Good session. Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
For my first one, I'm gonna
Yeah.
try and mold this into something else. My plan was to have my partner, she's off today. I was gonna have her just dress normal, and I was gonna, while we were in here, I was gonna have her just come in and then leave again, and then wait 15 minutes, say, what was she wearing?
Uh-huh.
We've done that before too, and
Yeah.
everybody got it wrong.
I am
Surrounding.
Yeah.
This is a big deal.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna do that for the senior
There you
citizens.
go. That's cool.
Kind of
That's
do
good.
that, but I tell you what, you have a room full of trained cops, and you do that, and they're gonna have every description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that person's dressed like Amy, but it's going to be, oh no, had a hat and a beard. No,
Yeah.
they
Like
didn't.
telephone. It's like telephone.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's one thing I do notice. I notice what people are wearing,
Yeah.
and it's just me, because I'm
Yeah.
always like, oh, I like that, or they got that all wrong.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's
So yes, and we're the department gave us the option to participate in No Shave November.
Uh-huh.
So I have to get rid of all this at the end of November. But so my description.
I heard
at the
it
end
was
of
an
the month.
option. Didn't you just say it was an option?
It was an option. I haven't done this since I was 18. So
Oh, that'd be
and my
fun.
granddaughters want no part of it. So
Yeah.
we're like, nope.
Well, it's at the scruffy stage right now. So
Yeah.
it get a little longer.
Yeah,
At least a bit. Yeah.
And they were talking about letting it grow for Santa Claus, and I said, no, it's got to be
Yeah.
gone by the end of November.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Which this I won't miss, and this we'll see. So, anyway.
Well, thanks for coming.
Hey, you're welcome.